As hospitals face rising costs and drug shortages, smarter solutions are no longer optional. At Dig South, Jonathan Yantis, founder of QuicksortRx, shared how his team is transforming pharmacy procurement with real-time insights and pharmacist-led support, helping hospitals cut spend and take control.
Jonathan, welcome to the stage.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
All right, let's kick things off. Give us an overview of what your company is, and then give us a little bit of the scorecard in terms of how many employees, do you want to give a revenue band, how many customers. Just set the stage for where you are today.
Sure. So I started QuicksortRx with my co-founder, Matt Hubbard, out of Medical University of South Carolina. And so basically we discovered a way to manage our pharmacy procurement and accounting in a much more efficient way. And so basically we were able to load up all of the drug spend in one place and reverse engineer all of the rebates and compliance programs until we were producing incredible value for MESC. And so at this point, we're in 46 major health systems around the country, comprising about 9% of hospital beds, about 23 employees, and we just crossed 200 million saved for our health systems this week. So
incredible. So let's kick things off with you, Jonathan. Tell us a little bit about how you got the company off the ground in Charleston. You have a unique story that I would say is not traditional for most founders starting companies.
Well, probably the best thing about our company is we were able to develop a project inside of the medical university, make it successful, and then once we knew we had something that would work at other hospital sites, then it was a matter of finding the people that could help us, figuring out the business side of it, and basically, over time we were able to sort of network. I started showing up to all the events in town and started learning more about business and marketing and sales, and so we knew we had something. And so that really gave us the momentum to sort of plow through all these things that were super uncomfortable, that was not things that I thought I'd be doing or wanted to do, but needed to do in order to be successful. So, and that's everything from just figuring out the accounting to figuring out great salespeople, things like that. That was all an incredible challenge up front. We just knew we had a piece of software that worked well. Everything else we had to figure out and build out. So.
Give us a 1-minute background, though, on starting the product within your former employer and the USC.
Yeah, well, I got really good at building open source projects and helping with workflows at the hospital and solving specific problems. And I just got very good at developing software. And so basically I had a couple things before this they wanted me to commercialize, and I didn't really want to commercialize those things. I didn't think they'd make great businesses, could have been successful. But it basically got into that mindset, and then I found myself leading an innovation team, working for the CIO at the time, Mike Caputo. And so basically he just said, you've got a year to go out inside the institution and find a way to create value outside of the IT department. And that sounded great to me. And so I just went all in until I found a problem that was worth solving. So.
When we were talking previously, you said your first few sales to get off the ground were founder-led. So you're probably trying by fire, learning as you go. But I would imagine to go from those first two or few founder-led sales to scaling to, what did you say, 46?
46 major systems.
46 major systems, you got to do things a little bit differently. So talk about your evolution in terms of go-to-market, from how you went from you doing all the selling to actually building a team to successfully sell to these large hospital systems.
Yeah, I mean, that's by far the hardest part of the business. Those founder-led sales, Matt and I did something where we just never compromised on our values, or we never really changed the core of the type of company we wanted to build. We wanted to build a very different type of enterprise software company than existed. That probably made things a lot more difficult for us up front, but it started to catch up in a reputational, scores. And so basically we have tons of referrals now and happy customers, and that was always our goal, to create happy customers, not to close a bunch of sales and then, sort of leave them hanging. And so through that, we were able to attract an enterprise sales exec who had been in rev cycle management and very successful. And this just super appealed to him. And so really finding someone who's super passionate about your problem, that could sell that felt good about selling it, was going to really work their butt off to get those sales. And that's really what it takes in enterprise sales. You have to map out thousands of people, it's probably 12 people you're talking to in an organization to get a sale through. There's probably dozens behind the scenes that you don't know that may affect your sale. And you've got to really work a group of people inside of an organization to be successful. And that was what we really had to figure out, is how to build those networks, leverage relationships, who knows who, and how are they related, and they don't always get along. So,
well both of you are selling So really large, established, I can only imagine the bureaucracy of hospital systems and the government. How did you win over these types of organizations as a small startup? We'll start with you, Jonathan.
I mean, for us, we came with hard dollar results. We did, guaranteed ROI contracts, and like we would do demos where it only cost a little bit of time to prove that we could create value. And so basically, we proved it through our audit trails and all of our work and our software itself that, hey, this will work. Now it's a matter of getting it through the organization, and then you have to get past all that. What other sites are you at? What other institutions do you support? And up front, you don't have any of those. So that was, each one of those was just overcoming each individual person inside an organization and building consensus that, hey, we may not be this large enterprise company you're used to, but we are the right choice for your institution. So that just, it's a slog.
Yeah. Another lever that any company has when trying to scale is to make the decision. Do they want to raise capital or do they want to bootstrap their growth? Jonathan, what's been your position in terms of bootstrapping versus raising capital since starting your business?
We bootstrapped our company to start, and I'd highly recommend that if you can get away with it. And then you really need to figure out what you need and what the company demands. And so I think for us, we've been able to conquer a lot of the market without raising tremendous amounts of capital. We've been much more strategic about who we raise capital from. And so kind of like, I don't know if you've ever heard the thing, if you want to raise capital from someone, ask them for advice. And so we went around to a lot of founders in town and asked them for advice, and then they wanted to invest. And that actually worked out really well for us strategically. And so basically all of our investment has been strategic. Can these people help us? Have they built something? Do they have proven experience? It's actually, investors are the hardest people to suss out in the world. You'd think it'd be sales and marketing hires and things like that, but investors are probably the hardest to suss out. Are they actually going to bring real tangible value to my company? Or are they just going to put in capital and tell me a good story? And so that's the biggest thing. I look for people who are going to be partners and help me build my business after a transaction.
What do you think the capital enabled you to do that you wouldn't have been able to do if you were only bootstrapping?
It helped us go ahead and hire an extra engineer, push the timeline forward. If there's anything my investors have taught us, so like, Sean Jenkins and Steve Swanson are on our board a number of years, and it's just like, you think you need capital to solve problems, like what's right in front of you, you're a very capable person, figure it out. And so there's so many things where people are like, if I just had the money to hire some expert that would solve all my problems for me, a lot of times when you're a founder, you are the most knowledgeable person about your space, and you have to dig in and figure out the answers and do everything you can. And it's not always a matter of like trading cash for like expertise or someone's going to come in and save me. You really have to really dig in there. So that's what I've learned over the years.
One of the best times to raise capital, as they say, is when you don't need it. It sounds like your company is doing very well. So what's your view on capital from this point forward, raising more capital from this point forward?
It's sort of on the back burner. But I think at this point, we're considering it, but we probably don't need it. So I think we can conquer our market without raising capital. And so I'm really looking for some strategic investors who are going to roll up their sleeves, give us money, and then want to see it succeed and have the right connections in the world to help us succeed. So,
how do you think about balancing profitability and generating free cash flow versus taking that money and investing it right back in the business? As CEOs and founders, how do you think about how you spend your cash?
We pump everything back in, really. And, we've always thought about it as raising money from our customers. This is non-dilutive, and putting all of our time into getting more customers. And then once this checks cash, like who do we hire next that's going to be most efficacious to building our business in the next stage? And I think being a little capital constrained is actually somewhat helpful. Because like each time you got a lot of time to think about what am I going to put in places, what is the most important thing to put in place next? And so versus like, I've got $10 million and I'm just going to go hire teams of people and hope it works out. We kind of like being capital constrained to an extent. You also have to worry about investor timelines. They need to get out of their fund, and there's very short-termism out there these days. We're building a long-term company, and like that mentality, you got to find there's not many investors out there that have a long-term horizon. So they want to pump you up and sell you. And so there's that other thing too, is we didn't want to be controlled. So.
Yeah. Let's look forward for a second. So there's a saying that I like, it's what you have done to get to where you are isn't necessarily what you need to keep doing to get where you're going. How about you, Jonathan? What's the next plan to unlock the next chapter of growth?
We're constantly meeting with customers on a regular basis, and they're telling us what their greatest needs are. And so we're sort of, building a very agile team that can deliver results quickly, and seemingly somehow we've arrived at like the nexus of all these regulatory changes, like cost cutting to a lot of our nonprofit academic health systems right now. And so they're sort of under the gun to like find additional savings wherever they can find it. And we want to be the enablement platform for them for wherever they want to find additional savings. We're doing reimbursement right now to paint the full financial picture for these hospitals. You'd be shocked how poorly these hospitals know their finances.
Yeah, so for you, product development, you think it's the next big chapter?
It definitely continue to introduce new products. And so we've got some really exciting things happening behind the scenes to, increase the amount of savings tremendously for our customers going forward. So yes, we're just sort of doubling down our space. This is just a very fertile ground to work within. So.
What advice would we give to entrepreneurs that are just getting started? All right, Jonathan, take us home.
I think the same thing. I mean, you can only build a company around yourself as you are. You can't be someone else or copy other people. So I think that's really fundamental. And then listening to customers, like getting really good at listening, because a lot of times as an engineer, you don't want to hear what they have to say because it's like that seems almost dumb. And so like being able to listen to them and deliver value to them, even if it's like really simple, can be incredibly powerful.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Jonathan and Quicksort.